Well, hello.
Hello.
Hey, Carol. I am sitting today with Carol. We're going to ask Carol a bunch of questions about her life, and we're going to get to know Carol a little bit better than at least what I know her now. So, Carol, if you're ready, we'll begin. Okay, Carol. Tell me your full name, and with your last name, if you could spell your last name, that would be great.
Okay. My name is Carol Ann Saigillo. Sigillo.
Okay. Were you named after anyone that you know of?
Partially my grandmother. She was Caroline.
Oh, okay.
So they changed my name.
Where were you born at?
Berlin, Germany.
Berlin, Germany. When's your birthday? Year?
April 26, 1946.
1946, okay. Tell me about your mom and dad. Do you remember maybe you remember their names, but do you remember their birth dates?
Mm-hmm. My father was February 13th, 1924, and my mother was January 24th, 1926.
And what were their first name and last name?
My mother's first name was Thaisa Tova, and my father was Ralph Leonardi.
And in Russia, was there a maiden name, or that was the maiden name, and is that how names were?
That was her given name, not her mother's name.
Okay. Do you remember her mother's name?
Mm-hmm. Alexandra Romanov.
Okay. And do you remember anything about your grandparents on your father's side?
Oh yeah. I lived with them for a long time.
Oh, okay. Let's tell me about that. Do you remember their first and last name?
Mm-hmm. Caroline Leonardi and Stilano Leonardi.
Okay. You don't remember their birthdays, do you?
Grandma was January 22nd.
Okay.
And I don't know the year.
Okay.
And Grandpa was, I think, March 29th. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, good. And so you lived with them most of the time?
From the time that I was 15 until I was about 18 and a half, 19.
Okay.
But I spent a lot of time over there in my growing years.
Right. Now, when you were with your grandmother and grandfather, did you have to move? Did you have to move a long ways from where you were before then when you were being raised, or was that in the same area?
No. I went from the Bronx to Queens.
Okay. Now, do you remember, how did your father pass away?
Old age and a little bit of, not spinal bifida, something with his spine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We said old age. How old did he live to be?
84.
84. Good for him. Now, your mother, how old was she when she passed away?
84.
84. Okay. And did she pass away of natural causes for the most part?
Natural causes. She was in a rest home here
Okay.
in Raleigh.
Okay.
And they found her one day sitting in a chair. They thought she was sleeping.
All right.
And she was deceased.
Oh, gotcha. Do you remember how your grandmother and grandfathers passed away?
My grandfather passed away when I was away out of town at a American Airlines training school, and he passed away from cancer.
Okay.
My grandmother had a heart attack,
Okay.
and she just sat down on the top step and died.
Did both of them live to be older adults?
No, Grandpa was, I think, 72. My grandmother, I think, I don't remember how old she was.
Okay. Now you talked about being in Russia. Did you grow up in Russia?
No.
Oh, you didn't grow up in Russia?
No.
Okay. Your grandparents, did they come over here from Russia, or was it your parents that came over?
Just my mother.
Just your mother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My father was a GI soldier.
Oh,
so
okay.
He was a GI, so he came and left her there because of all the paperwork and whatnot.
Right.
So I got here about a year later.
Okay. Was your father, did he see any combat action?
Oh yeah,
What war?
World War II.
World War II. Tell
Mhm.
me about that. Okay. Did he talk about it much when he came
No,
home?
we never talked about it.
Really?
No.
Wow. Well, how long was he in the military?
I think just during the war,
Okay.
and then he came out.
Do you know if he was drafted or did he enlist?
I have no idea. He never spoke of it.
How about that? All right. Growing up, in case anybody's interested in any health issues, can you think of any health issues that that your grandparents had, or your parents had, or you had that might be hereditary, like high blood pressure or any heart disease?
pretty much. My father had restless legs. I have restless legs. The rest of it, I mean, my grandfather, they treated him with cancer, but nothing here so far. Everybody's been pretty, just old age or whatever,
Right,
just went.
right.
The good Lord says I'm taking them and that's it.
So, when you were growing up, did you, as far as you can remember, did you always have enough food to eat and enough, you were well taken care of? Did you?
God, yeah,
Good, good.
yes,
You,
yeah.
good.
When you have an Italian grandmother, you know there's plenty of food.
That's good. All right. So, how long were you in New York? Did you grow up in New York?
I lived in New York from 1947 until 1972.
Okay. And part of that was in the Bronx.
Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island.
Okay. Tell me about that. How was New York growing up? How was the Bronx and Queens, and how was that area growing up? Was it a fun area to grow up, or was it dangerous? Was it?
No, it was, when I was growing up, it was okay. I was pretty much sheltered. My father became a policeman,
Oh, okay.
so he worked in Fort Apache.
Okay.
My mother worked for a while, so when I went to school, I would have to come straight home and stay in my apartment.
Right.
When I lived in Queens, my parents divorced when I was 15,
Okay.
and that's when I went with my father out to my grandmother's.
I see.
But before then, we always went back and forth to visit my grandparents,
Okay.
but I didn't actually live there until I was 15.
Okay. Now, did you attend school? Did you graduate from that area?
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
Mhm.
Did you attend school after that, or what did you do after high school?
After high school, I worked for the American Psychiatric Journal. I worked for Bloomingdale's, and then, different companies like that. Then I decided when I was 25, 24, to be flight attendant.
Okay, good.
So that's what I did.
How long were you a flight attendant?
22 years.
Really?
Mhm.
How about that?
Yeah.
So you've been all over the world, haven't you?
Well, not the world so much as, but all over the states.
Okay,
I stayed domestic.
I see. So you were, I assume you got married?
Mm-hmm.
What age were you when you got married?
Right after I got to California, almost. Yeah. I went out there so I could have fun and meet all kinds of people. And I met my husband 6 months later. Yeah. I was 25.
25.
Mm-hmm.
And is your husband still living?
No,
Okay. And how old was he when he passed away?
72.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what's his first name and last name?
Anthony.
Anthony.
John Saigillo.
Okay. All right. And tell me about your children.
The children.
Right.
I have one daughter who's an RN out in San Diego.
Oh, nice. My wife's an RN. Yeah.
She's married to a fireman.
Okay.
They have 2 beautiful children, Jackson and Liliana.
Okay.
I have one daughter who is God knows where. Nobody knows where she is.
Right.
And then my youngest is my baby. He's my son Anthony,
Anthony, okay.
and he's here in Raleigh.
Okay.
He has a stepdaughter that's 8. Oh no, she's 10. And a baby boy just turned 2.
Oh, okay. Well, good. How did you interest me?
Okay, I was, like I said, was working, I was based in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
And I always flew LA, New York, back and forth all the time. And this particular trip, should have called in sick, but I didn't. I had the flu. And that time we take boarding passes at the door. And this man walks in and dressed really nice in a beige sweater, jacket, pants, looked beautiful. So I said, And it was the 747 when we had the piano bars in the back.
Oh, I didn't, okay.
Yeah, oh God, in the 70s we had the piano bar, and after the meal service, it was like a lounge. So that was my position after the meal service. So I was back there, and we were talking, blah, 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 and he asked me for my number, and I gave it to him. The next day, I had some time off, so I flew out to New York, and I went to visit my dad, and my stepmom says, have you met anybody? I said, I met a guy, I haven't gone out with him yet. I said, I think I'm gonna marry this one. Sure enough, I met him on January 3rd. He met me on the jet bridge 2 weeks later with an engagement ring,
No.
and then we got married February 15th. And we were married 43 years
How about that?
until he passed.
How about that?
Yep.
That's when you know you would
I just saw him and I said, I like this.
That's a good story.
And he did too.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
So, where did you raise your children at? What city?
New York, Long Island.
When did you leave New York?
1989.
1989. Where were you at when 9/11 happened?
Where was I? Here, in Raleigh.
In Raleigh.
Yeah, I had retired and I was working for the Goodwill.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Being from New York, did you have a lot of friends and family that were still back there? And,
Oh yeah, my whole family's in New York.
And hopefully you didn't lose anyone close, but did you know people who did?
Yeah, no I don't.
That was bad. Let's go back to where some world events that somebody may want to know where you were at. Do you remember when John F. Kennedy was shot? And where you were at when John F. Kennedy was shot?
Yes, I was in Brentwood, New York, on Long Island.
Okay.
I was in the kitchen, and I had my little TV up on the thing, and that's when I heard it. No, wait a minute, that was the shovel blowing up.
Okay.
Boy, I got that one all confused.
Well, I was saying, if you had TV in the
Wait a
kitchen.
minute, when he got shot, in what, in
63.
63? I was in high school. I was a junior in high school.
That's why I asked you if you remember.
Wait a minute, no. Yeah, no, I saw the shovel blow up, that's what that was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was in my kitchen.
Right.
That was,
Yeah, 63. That's why I asked you if you remember.
when you get old, your brain starts
Oh,
to
I
go.
Trust me, I have to write everything down so I can remember. Let's see. Did your mom and dad, I've asked this question a couple of times and I got some really interesting answers. Did they lived through the Depression? Did they talk about the Depression much? How bad it was during the Depression for them?
Not really, because growing up, I mean, I never saw any want for food or anything like that. Now, of course, my mother, on one hand, she was in Russia and the revolution and everything else. They grew up poor.
Right.
You know, my father, he was born in Italy. My grandmother used to go back and forth by boat. So they weren't suffering,
Right.
you know, so they were pretty good.
Right.
You know, my grandfather worked for the coal mines first.
Okay.
He was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And from the coal mines, he went to work, when he moved to New York, for the Department of Sanitation.
Right.
And so he had a very good salary,
Okay.
you know, and of course retirement, so they were fine.
Let's talk about your mother. I'm sure in the hardship she had growing up. What do you remember, or what that she said, talk about, or that you learned about?
What you talked about? She'd tell me little scary stories. That's what you talked about, you know. But she just talked about not too much about how poor it was, you know. Her brother was put in jail because he stole bread. She was put in an orphanage when her mother died because the father then was in the Tsar's army. I've got it written down. And finally, one thing she did tell me was one day she remembers being taken to this big castle, you know, and this man walked in with high white boots and a white jacket, and it was her father coming to take her back because he remarried.
Oh.
So he came and got her. And I don't know about the brother. I know the brother was killed in an airplane during the war, but came and got her. And then she lived pretty good, you know, until the war broke out. Then, of course, her father was taken to Siberia because of religious reasons. So he, in Siberia, if he went to Siberia, that's like going to jail.
Right.
It was death row for him. And my mother was picked up by the Germans, and she was smart. She was Russian, but she was Russian Orthodox. But a lot of times they thought if you were Russian, you were Jewish. So what she did was she said she was Polish. So instead of putting her in a concentration camp, they put her in a work camp where she had to dig potatoes and, you know,
Wow.
she was there until they were liberated by the GIs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she talk about all that freely, or did you have to dig that out of her?
She would go through moods, you know, whether she would talk about it. I used to tell her I bought her a tape recorder.
Yeah.
And I used to tell her to record. Just sit there, Mom, and talk.
Right.
Tell us the stories. She never did.
How about that?
Never did. She never just wanted to. So I would talk to her about it a little bit. You know, she did have two sisters she contacted, and she would send packages to them. And they were, of course, younger because of they were from the stepmother.
Right.
But they were dressed, they looked like they were 20 years older than her.
Oh.
Living very poor, very simple, you know, black babushkas on and black clothing, and that's how they were living over there after the war.
Mm.
You know, but she was living pretty good here when she got here.
Okay. And how old was she when she came here?
I think she was like maybe 18, 19 when she met my father. And then, of course, then she got pregnant, and then he came back here.
Right.
So she came she came here in 1947. She was 20.
20.
Yeah, because she was born in 26. She came here she came here in 47. So she was 21.
21. But she had a story to tell from her first 21 years.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Who is the first president you remember voting for?
Oof. Was it Reagan? I don't remember.
Let's see. There's Kennedy, and then there's Eisenhower, and then there's
I have an I like Ike button.
You think?
But I didn't vote for him or too young.
No, I'm sorry. It was Kennedy, and then it was Kennedy and Johnson, and then Nixon, and then Carter, and Reagan.
Maybe it was Carter.
Carter.
Yeah, I think it was Carter.
Okay.
I think Carter.
And to me, that doesn't seem like long ago, but if someone's young, or years from now when people view this, that to them, they'll have to look back to see when Carter was
Yeah.
president. So it'll mean something to them. So that's interesting. Was the military, did you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a half brother and a half sister, and a step brother and a stepsister.
Do you know their names? If someone wanted, you don't know their names?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Can you say their first and last names in case somebody wants to look them up later? What's their first and last name?
Oh, there's Joyce Sarrow. Okay, there's Ralph Leonardi. There is Angela. No. There's Gasper LaParry and Angela. I can't think of Angela's last name right now.
Okay.
It's an Italian name and I can't think of it.
How did you end up in North Carolina?
My sister-in-law
Okay.
moved down here. And my husband and I, we weren't doing too well. We didn't like where we were and stuff. So we said, let's go with his family at least. So we decided, okay, we'll move down here. And that's what we did.
How do you like North Carolina compared to?
I like it.
Do you?
hmm To me, it's like a less quiet Long Island.
Okay. Have you ever met or brushed with anybody, have you ever met with anybody famous that you can remember?
Oh, honey, I've got an autograph book that would knock your socks off.
Well, tell me about some of them that I might know.
Count Basie,
Oh.
George Burns.
Really?
I should have brought it with me. Perry Como,
Oh, okay.
Robin Williams. God, the book is full. I
And,
started in '77 when my daughter was born.
okay.
That's when I started at Celeste Home. She charged me $a quarter for UNICEF.
Oh,
Shirley MacLaine let me carry her Oscar.
really?
Yeah.
Now, was this your job or was it?
When I was on the airplane working,
So that's when you met him.
LA, New York, LA, New York.
How about that?
Yeah.
Did you have a warning or did you know before they got on that so-and-so should be on the flight or?
Sometimes.
Was there always, or
Sometimes.
sometimes did you get surprised by seeing who was coming in front of you or?
Yeah, sometimes too. Sometimes they were on the list,
Okay.
and sometimes there were no names on the list.
Was there anybody that stuck out that you met who was just overly friendly or overly rude or?
Robert Stack,
Robert Stack.
he would walk around and talk to people.
Oh.
Barbara Streisand was a little weird, and Lucille Ball was rude.
Really?
She wouldn't talk to anybody. Her husband, somebody Marshall or something like that, had to do all the talking.
Oh.
Yeah, she doesn't deal with the help. Yeah.
Wow. One of my favorite shows growing up.
I love Lucy.
Yeah, I still like to see.
Of course,
videos.
of course, I loved her as an actress.
Yeah.
But as a person, she was very, very, she drank an awful lot.
Oh.
Or the other one who drank a lot, Dixie Carter.
Really?
Ooh, nasty drunk.
Really?
Yeah,
How about that?
married to Al Holbrook. Yeah, yeah,
You said Robin Williams. Was he nice to you?
very nice.
How about that?
Real sweet. Peter Falk,
Yeah.
he loves to draw. He would just sit there sketching, just making pictures.
How about that?
Mhm.
Interesting. Did politics play any part in your family or in your life growing up?
No,
You just went with the flow?
just went with the flow, yeah. Strictly Democrat,
Right.
And if I didn't like the Democrat, I'd vote for whoever I liked.
What about your dad growing up as a policeman? How was life? Because I imagine, did he talk about how dangerous it was? Was it that bad? I know it's bad now, but was it?
It's bad now. It's bothering me. He usually worked the night shift, you know, and he always came home. I mean, he was a real nice cop. You know, he didn't stop you and give you. He was a foot policeman, so you know he would just, you know, hang around in the doorways of a store or something like that. He never really talked about anything really dangerous. There was something, but I can't remember. It was down in Canal Street. There was some kind of a robbery, and that's where the jewelry district is, down that way. And he was involved in that,
Right.
you know, in the chase. But thank God he was fine for all the years. I think he put in like 26 years,
Okay.
something like that.
Was he a big man or a tall man? Was he?
5'11",
Okay.
yeah, you know, 180 pounds
Okay.
when he was, you know, young.
Right. Now, does your family come from a family of tall people, or
Not really,
not really?
no.
Or your son, is he tall?
He's 6 foot.
6 foot. Okay.
Like my husband, he's 6 foot.
6 foot. Okay. All right. Well, if you, and this is the last question, if you want to look in the camera and give your grandchildren, maybe even your children, but your grandchildren, some advice, something you've learned over the years, can you think of anything? Work hard. I know that there's different. Now, if it was me, it would be something like, I just want to.
Kind of like, be patient,
Yep.
have faith, be good to people, treat them like you want to be treated.
Right.
You know, understanding, compassion. I feel that's what I've done through my life.
Right.
And my children are kind of following in that aspect.
Well, yeah, it's good advice.
Yeah.
I mean, you do all those things, then you're going to see a positive outcome.
The
So,
one that's missing.
right. Well, hopefully she's doing fine wherever she's at.
She's doing her thing, and she's just written herself off. So
What's her name, so we know?
Kristen.
Kristen. Really, I got a daughter named
I
Kristen.
know you do.
Yeah, I sure do.
And I have a grandson named Zach.
Do you right? There you go. There you go. Well, Carol, I appreciate you coming in here. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And